Hello, this is Psyken, and in this video I want to talk about mashing. In case you didn't know, there's a bunch of fighting game terms that are in the glossary section of this game. It's under glossary and all the way to the right, as you can see here at the top. But under here, mashing is described as rapidly pushing buttons, typically light attacks or attacks with a quick startup, in an attempt to interrupt the opponent's pressure during an attack string. Mashing can be an effective way to defend against a potential incoming overhead attack or tick throw attempt. However, rely on mashing too much and your opponent may get wise and punish you with a counter hit. Now, this is a perfect definition, and we're going to go over how mashing too much can be dangerous and how mashing every now and then can be beneficial to you. Okay, so what is mashing? Well, we just defined that. But what it looks like is a totally different story sometimes. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see my inputs that I'm putting onto my controller and showing up in the game. But typically people will mash like this when they're in defense, or even when they're just playing the game naturally and they don't know what they're doing. Well, it's important to know that defensively this is really helpful. Much like what was described earlier in the video, if we set ground to do an auto combo into overhead, we can mash out of that. And the reason why we can mash out of it is because that overhead is not a true block string, nor is it a frame trap. There are too many frames, in between his last attack and the overhead that allows us to press a button and counter hit. The reason why mashing can be beneficial sometimes is that you don't know what they're going to do, but you generally try, you don't know specifically what they're going to do, but you have a feeling that they're going to leave themselves open to be counter hit. So, in other words, you don't want to sit there and take it. Like, you're making the choice to counter, to push your way back and push out of whatever pressure that they're applying to you. This is a good way to get at a tick throws as well. If you have somebody who always comes up to you and does a throw, especially on your wake up, they'll just do an attack and then a throw, and you're like, okay, well, I'm sick of getting thrown. I don't want to be thrown anymore. So I'm gonna mash out next time he goes for it. And that is perfectly acceptable. Mashing is not necessarily bad. What's bad about mashing is mashing all the time. It'd be the same equivalent to doing a DP on wake up every single time that you woke up. Your opponent's going to start to notice this pattern or this strategy that you've adopted, and hopefully they'll punish you for it so that you know not to do a DP on wake up every single time, or that you know not to mash a button on wake up every single time. Maybe your character doesn't have a DP and you just want to get up and mash. If your opponent realizes that you've adopted this pattern, things could go very bad very quickly. One way to stop mashing is to frame trap your opponent. Frame traps generally involve a move that's plus on block going into another attack. Here we'll have Gron do his 5L into his 5 medium. His 5L is advantageous on block, and then he'll do medium, which should counter us for doing for trying to mash, basically. So if I'm trying to mash out after I block this attack, you see I get counter hit. Counter hits I will go into on another video, but counter hits are very deadly in this game and can damage you greatly if they notice that they're going to get a counter hit, or there are counter hit specific combos, etc. But yeah, is it okay to mash? Yeah, it's great. Is it okay to mash all the time? Absolutely not. And I don't agree with doing any one thing in a fighting game all the time. It's best to switch it up. It's not the greatest of ideas to use the same strategy over and over and over, especially if that strategy is getting you blown up at a higher level of gameplay. But yeah, it's a short video on mashing, and I hope it helps.